podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
This is Full On Gamer with a shout out to the boys who don't play it old school or new school, but the school. 2nd edition D&D. Hells yeah.
Stop. Hammer time.
First there was the original.
I thought it might be nice for kids. Keep them off the street, you know.
Then the basic.
This is a simple game.
Then the first version of the advanced.
Good, clean, wholesome fun.
Now the hammer comes down. Welcome to THACO's Hammer, the best damn 2nd edition AD&D podcast ever.
Here we are again, THACO's Hammer, 2nd edition, with my buddies Corey. Oh, I'm DM Glenn, by the way. My buddy Corey.
What's up, everybody?
DM Corey. How are you, Corey?
Not bad, Glenn. How you been?
Okay, and my other buddy, DM Brian.
We are the RPG version of cockroaches. You cannot kill us.
Oh, I'm glad you added that second syllable. But
come on, Glenn.
I know.
I've been doing this a few months. I think I know the drill by now.
Yeah, I know. It's not my first rodeo either, all right? But, all right, let's get into hits and crits right away.
What do you feel like doing tonight?
I don't know, Ange. What do you feel like doing?
Well, we ought to do something. It's Saturday night. I don't want to go bowling like last Saturday. Oh, what do you feel like doing tonight?
I don't know, Ange. What do you feel like doing?
Hits and crits.
Hits and crits. Guys, Brian, what'd you do this week?
I've actually been messing around with the 2nd edition Core Rules expansion. I've been.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah, well, if I can ever get the custom classes to work right, it would be. Yeah, I've been putting up my monk and martial artist classes, and everything's fine right up until I start selecting proficiencies for the character. Then it all just goes to tears.
So you say you're trying to get your the stuff that you worked on. You're trying to kind of jury rig it through character creation on there?
Yeah. I think I've figured out a way to do it, but the problem is that when you go to create a character, it just gets all screwed up with the weapon proficiencies.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. I don't know much about programming, but trying to, work something around. Mm-hmm. I've done that before with characters. It's like, damn it, you're gonna work.
Yeah, I had to walk away from it for a little while. Otherwise, I was probably going to put my fist through my monitor, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, that's not fun.
No. Monitor doesn't like it. Your fist doesn't like it. You don't like it. And Corey, how about you? What you been up to this week?
Well, I've pulled the minis out, painting some minis. Gonna start cranking out and finally finishing off the minis that I actually have out of the what are they called? The plastic shells.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You ever save those?
I do if I open one up to paint a mini, I'll keep it simply for mixing tray.
That's what I was going to say. Those are good mixing trays.
Other than that, I mainly throw them away.
Whenever I go to a restaurant that has those like little ketchup cups you fill,
mm-hmm.
that are the plastic ones, not the paper ones, the plastic ones. I take like a stack of them, and I put them in my paint kit.
Well, the larger ones, right? Oh, for mixing paint.
They're about the size of a NyQuil cup.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep those, and I store them in my painting kit and use them for mixing and stuff. Which reminds me, I got to hit the barbecue place pretty soon. I need some more.
Anyway. Yeah, and also, I've also been working on a campaign. I got to play D&D Sunday.
Okay, I heard you put it in Undermountain.
Yep, and I'm also working on a certain campaign for a couple gentlemen on a podcast that
really
listening to right now.
That someday someone might let me play.
You will play.
I'm doing. Well, let's see what the wife says.
Okay.
It all hinges.
I'm recording 2 podcasts plus this show plus the other game I'm in, Vince's game, the live live recording one. So that's 4 nights right there. So
Glenn, I want a divorce.
Total roll saving throw.
That's when your fast talking proficiency comes into play.
What I've been doing, let's get a little to nothing. We're getting ready for the con. We're 2 weeks away from the Northwest Texas RPG Con. Still got to get those pocket character. Oh, I'm taking my pocket character sheets on the road.
Nice.
I'm going to be going to Kinko's and printing out 100 of each version.
Wow.
And folding them up and just handing them out at the table.
You're a madman.
I'm actually like 2E is going to be on white paper, but the other 2 are going to be on goldenrod and salmon.
Oh, very nice.
The old basic and 1E sheets used to be.
Oh yeah, all the old schoolers are going to be drooling over those things.
And do not fear. Like on the second edition one, of the back says "Brought to you by THACO's Hammer" and our URL.
Very well done.
I did that for
nice, very nice.
Hey, if you're gonna give them out,
free advertising.
Yeah. Yep. Of course, good Mike over at Saber Die thinks I should charge like $0.25 a piece for them, but we'll see. Anyway, that's what what?
No, I was gonna say, kidding. Gamers gonna shell out pocket change. Nah, you gotta remember they're taking out second mortgages to find out what they can get in the dealer's room. Come on now.
That's true, and also paying the $2.25 for drinks at a hotel.
Oh yeah, gouge.
I need quarters for the machine.
You know, I think it'd be great if you come back from the con and we get some emails from some of the people that got those. We can get some reviews of that sheet.
That would be nice. Yeah, tell us about it, folks.
Another thing. Yeah,
yes.
When you come back from con, it would be nice to kind of get Bad Mike back in the fold.
I am working on that. He has been very busy putting on this convention, and so I cut him a lot of slack because it's a very good convention, and I don't want to, I'm not going to hound him about it. He's got a few mechanical problems to overcome, but he can address those after. New router, yes, his router's dying.
Yes.
But he hopefully will overcome that, and he will be back as the the D'Artagnan of the Three Musketeers.
How did we split up the Three Musketeers between us?
I don't know. Last time I looked, it was Mo, Larry, and Curly.
I guess I'm Porthos.
Let's see. No, I am not Athos because I am not pious at all.
That leaves me.
I don't think any of us are. All right, we got any emails?
Yeah, let's get some emails here.
Yeah, let's do that. Why don't we do that? Okay, I have 2 little emails here. Very short, very sweet. One is from Brad Ford.
Dump the other 2, have more Brian, right?
Wow. Now see, I'm trying to be, impartial about it and not trying to toot my own horn, and you're just making it so easy for me to do it. But anyway. Okay, he says, "Hey guys, great show. Look forward to listening each week." Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Brad.
He says, "I don't believe you discussed it before, so I'd like to hear a discussion on house rules any of you use." Wow, that's one hell of a sentence. I think he wants to hear a discussion about any house rules we use. He said, also, just listen to the ninja episode, and he asked me for info on my monk and martial arts class.
There you go.
Yeah, well,
Very nice.
Positive reinforcement's always good. Yeah, I'll drop him an email and get that done. Let's see. For house rules, God only knows. You know what? You guys discuss it because I'm going to pull up mine. I want to see just how many house rules I have now. Excuse me.
Wow, he's got a file full. How about you, Glenn?
A couple. -10 is dead.
Mm-hmm.
And Pleocyanosus go to prison. That's about it.
No, he means that literally, folks, where he literally calls the cops and have you.
No, I do not. My game is not Cyanosus friendly. Let me put it that way.
Well, that's because you aren't, sir.
That's right. Well, is there a connection? You think?
Possibly.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Corey?
I probably have way too many to list offhand. I can think of at least 30 of them just running through my mind of the house rules that I've looked at the rules in the book and went, yeah, no, we're changing that for my tastes.
Uh-huh.
I do my proficiencies a bit differently. Actually, a lot differently. I prefer more proficiencies in skill use than straight combat and rolling for combat. Bit more role play heavy. You got the house rules for experience, dealing out experience for the players. I got house rules for class and race level restrictions. I mean, there's just and I have house rules for psionics. So there's so many out there that I have. I probably need to at some point write them down on a list because I'm sure all of my players don't even know all of them. So,
Are you trying to say that you have them all in your head?
Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering about that.
That makes a difference.
I really should sit down and write them down because I will say something and then like about 4 or 5 sessions, meaning 4 or 5 months later, I'll say something over ruling and they'll be like, that's not what you said last time. Last time you said this. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. Thanks. Yeah, go with that.
How they can remember 4 or 5 months after the fact.
Oh, I've been there. Oh yeah, there are some players I've run games with where they do that, and it's all of a sudden then they have to actually physically prove it, and if they do,
memory.
Yeah, that's always fun.
I got one more, but before I do that, Brian, tell us about your house rules.
Oh, let's see. I've got house rules for character generation, PC classes, multi-class PCs, proficiencies. I mean, most of the ones Corey named, I have changed myself. There's certain, in regard to priest spells, I do free casting for priests, which usually players in my game, they want to play the cleric once they find that little part out. I do healing spells differently. I had to make a little note for the stone skin spell to prevent player abuse. Let's see, mage spells, combat, the 50-point rule, which we will cover in another episode. The 50-point rule is in effect always. I do experience points differently. I do energy draining attacks differently. Oh God, every time I think about the arguments I've had Dragon's Foot about that.
And not to mention, to add to mine, which is a great segue into our show tonight, specialty priests. I have tons of house rules about specialty priests.
Yes. Let me ask one specific question.
Sure.
What about house rules about what splat books are allowed or not, or things in the splat books?
Well, for me, that's pretty much case by case basis. Although pretty much almost all the ones are in effect: fighter, wizard, thief, priest, ranger, paladin, elf, dwarf, gnome, halfling, druid, humanoid, bard, and psionics. I'm sorry.
Even the battle rager?
Yes, even the battle rager.
Okay.
You want to know something? Battle ragers don't last too long in my games. But go ahead.
My house ruling on the splat books is, if you're attempting to get something on the table that is not in the core player's handbook, you're going to have to both explain it to the point where I cannot find a reason you should not play it.
Yep.
And you should also be expecting me to take your idea of what you want to play out of whatever splat book, and at my whim change it till it fits my world.
Oh, naturally.
You want to play a shadow, a necromantic shadow using Minotaur assassin? Sure.
Now
you better be ready to explain how this character came about, and you better be ready for me to go, okay, you take damage when you're in the sunlight, and near 15 feet of priest, you're taking, a weakness spell because you're close to holy ground, Mr. Minute, I'll throw out whatever I feel balances the character out. And some people go, that's cool, I'll play with that. That sounds like a good roleplay opportunity. Other people are like, no, that sucks. You just give them to me. I want to play something else. And they go back to the core book.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure you're not trying to cripple it enough that they won't play it.
No, not at all. I think if somebody actually has the testicular fortitude to play a unique character, I'll support you all the way.
Yep.
But you have to realize I'm not gonna let you fly around and shoot laser beams out of your eyes, while the rest of the players are normal, fighters lugging around 70 pounds of armor and they can barely move. It's not gonna happen.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I can understand.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing with me. Just to reinforce that, is that even though I'm fairly generous, and I even put it on my house rules, I said I'm fairly generous with various types of characters. If they're going to do something that is so, completely out of left field, and it's an obvious, if it's an obvious grab for PC power, of course I'm going to disallow it.
Yeah.
But I've played with enough people to where there are those who want to try and be slick about it. And I'm like, all right, I'll listen to you. I'll be completely impartial. Explain it. And if you do a good enough job, I'll let you keep it. If not, back to the drawing board for you.
Yeah. And let me add one more to my games, and I've done this before. I have allowed black powder.
Now, see, it's psionics with you. It's black powder with me.
Well, I think to me, psionics with me, it's like black powder with the rest of the gaming world. I just don't understand. To me, black powder adds an extra interest in an level of adventure, and it also adds an extra level of comedy, which I like. I want to see these things blow up in people's faces, or not work, or just take one shot and then you got to pull out the sword. And if you're going to deal with something like pirates, to me, the gun is part of the pirate shtick.
No, I don't disagree with you. It's just one. This is something that's sort of a how should I put this? This is sort of a holdover from the power gaming days back in the early 80s when we graduated from swords and sorcery to guns to lasers to starships.
Well,
and it just kept
a line, though. I don't like to do black powder more than maybe, say, Renaissance type gunpowder, where you have to sit there with the flintlock and put the thing and put the powder in the thing and put the I'm going to make you go through those steps.
Oh, of course.
You want it preloaded? Okay, fine. You get one shot off. What are you going to do now? Pull out my sword. Good boy.
Well, yeah.
I'm in the Brian camp on this.
Of course.
I know. Yeah. Well, I'll take psionics over pistols and blunderbusses and cannons any day. I can see where you're coming from, Glenn. Like you're going for the more Renaissance, pirates
where it's not going to
era.
work all the time.
Oh, of course.
I personally play 13th century medieval, Dark Ages. I don't mess around. I think I've allowed it in a game once, and I gimped it because I didn't want it in my game to the point where the gnome actually lost his head, I think, after the third encounter. Yeah.
And also, if I did black powder, I would beef up something like plate mail that could take a shot. Because, in history, plate mail cannot take a shot.
No, it can't.
No,
but I would be. Yeah, it's a very thin plate over chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would change it like that. You could, guys, just chalk it up to the fact that I was spoiled by Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Yep.
Because they have all that kind of stuff in there. I mean, I saw the dwarven fire guys with the cannon who are like half crazy, that are demolitions experts that are running around trying to fire these things. It was like, cool. They're gonna miss like 3/4 of the time or blow up or something. I like this, Anyway, that's house rules. Do we have any more? Thank you for who was that?
That was
Brad.
Yeah,
that was Brad.
Brad, thank you, Brad. That was a very interesting email. Do we have any more?
Yeah, I've got one more. Let me pull it up. Okay, this is from Nightly Gnome. Actually,
Nightly Gnome.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Hi, Gnome.
Let's see. Well, this is basically just all shining me up, so I'll just cut to the chase.
Well, that's as PG as we can get. Okay,
yeah,
fine.
Yeah. He's washing me up pretty good. And you know me, I'm just not the kind who's just gonna toot my own horn excessively. If anything, I don't toot it enough.
Steps the back, so we toot it for him, folks.
And it feels good too. Anyway, sorry. He said, I just finished listening to episode 11 of THACO's Hammer, and your new improved monk martial artist classes sounds very interesting. I've tinkered with a 2E rendition of the monk for years, but have never been happy with my own results. While I may steal ideas without shame, I always give full credit to their source. Yeah, and he basically says he just like a copy of it. So,
I'm thinking that if we keep this up, maybe we could get I could put it up on a server, and we could get a link out on the THACO's Hammer.
Oh yeah.
Website.
I was, something that was something that I had thought about doing, but with my memory having holes in it, like Swiss cheese on some cases, I forgot to suggest that. But
I'll ask Vince about that. See if we can put a link up. I've got a server. I can host it, and that'll be no problem. Just put that stuff up there.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. And that is thank you, Gnome.
Nightly Gnome. His real name's Mike.
Thank you, Mike. And that's the emails, right?
Yes, indeed.
Cool. Let's go into option package.
My personality undergoes a startling change.
You should meet me because I'm a great guy.
I like big fat men like you. When they fall, they make more noise. And sometimes they never get up.
Option package.
Option package. I don't know why I pronounce it that way, but
we got options.
That's the way this is this week. What is it? It is the Complete Priest's Handbook.
Yes, it is.
TSR number 2113.
Yes, sir.
By none other than Aaron Alston.
My man.
My man too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My man, Aaron.
As a complete aside, he writes one hell of a Star Wars book too.
He writes one hell of a Champion supplement too.
Oh yeah, this guy is a genius, straight up.
Yeah.
You've got black and white art by Thomas Baxa, color art by Eric Olson, Larry Elmore, David Dorman.
Dorman.
Yep. Karen S. Boomgarden did the editing. This is one that came out in 1990. This is, as it suggests, this is the third book. Fighters and I think Thieves were the first two.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And basically, what I like about this book is that it actually enables the DM to come up with decent pantheons of his own instead of just taking from, various campaign worlds or just going into like legends and lore deities and demigods and just cherry picking what he likes.
Yeah. Now, one thing that is a real boon to DMs is this mythic history creation sheet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before it's like, okay, I want a pantheon. Either you cherry pick them or go, okay, this is the guy of pain. This is the guy of umbrellas. This is the guy, and you just sort of like a spice. You just sort of.
Hey, I don't have that god. I gotta make that god. Write that down.
God of umbrellas.
Umbrellas, and of course, potatoes, the potato god.
Mm-hmm.
But this sheet asks all the right questions. How was the universe created? What was the shape of the world in the universe? Are the gods immortal? Are they indestructible? How direct influence they have, etc. Even down to like the future. Are there any legends about the future and events and the pantheon itself? And I think it even goes into like artifacts of the gods and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the kind of stuff you don't really. Sometimes as I feel like as a DM, sometimes you have to. They say, okay, make X, and you have no idea how to begin.
That's where I was.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is a great starting point right here.
I agree.
Right.
Plus all the stuff they talk about, the Force. It reminds me of back when Wizards of the Coast was just a little tiny company. Mm-hmm. They had a book series called, the name escapes me right now. People out there, please tell me what it is. But it was all about building pantheons and stuff, and gods. And it was good.
Mm-hmm.
And once they started with the magic and then wizards, they just like dropped it. They did like 3 books, and they were good. And this is what the priest book reminded me of.
Are you talking about the powers and pantheons and the deities and
No. This was through Wizards of the Coast, and it was like, I guess, game neutral.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is before Wizards blew up.
Yeah, this is before before they got, this is way before Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, before Magic Crack took off.
I gotta tell you, this book has got a lot more information in it that I expected when I first picked it up. It's a great book for players when they're making a priest handbook. Yeah. And every time someone makes a priest in my world at my table, this is always out and they're looking through it. The thing I like most about this is the section in the book, Designing Faiths. Not only to show you how to make a faith and what powers you get and whatever, but also it gives you the other things that you can do as a priest besides healing the fighter and casting light. The role-playing aspects, it tells you about marriages, overseeing marriages. What else is in here? Devotions and guidance for people doing missions, as a missionary. Omen readings, things like that just it adds more than just I am a damage, I'm a heal sponge
Yeah, I'm a medic.
Not everybody wants to play cleric as a medic. And to me, the book gives a lot more in-depth information, as all the handbooks do, about expanding the
duties, rights, restrictions.
Exactly.
Yeah, what they're doing when they're prophesying. Which I like because it goes from one side where they're receiving almost direct inspiration or a message from their deity, and it goes all the way down to where they're just out to fleece the public.
Right.
Yeah. It it varies. It just goes. That spectrum goes from. It's a pretty wide one actually, but I like it.
And the kits. What do we got? 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 10 kits. And there's one in there that Brian chooses teeth over, which is the monk.
Yeah, the fighting monk.
The fighting monk, which is not as good as Brian's fighting monk. We know that.
You're damn right it's not.
But what kits do you like out of this?
Let me think. The one kit that you want to know something. The only kit that I've seen that works the best for me would be the if I can get there we go. Is the I would say probably the Savage Priest. Actually, I'll take that back. It's either that or the Barbarian Priest, which of course, the information predates the Barbarian's Handbook, which they did a couple years later. But I've always wanted to know, if there were more sources, for, barbarian priests than, what you read out of fantasy. And I was always, kind of curious about that. But, the other kits are actually pretty good. I wanted to run an Amazon Priestess once, but I ended up...
Only if she looks like Kelly Hugh.
Oh, you know what? I cannot disagree with that. Yeah, I like Kelly Hugh. Yeah, she's Anyway, I got sidetracked.
A bag of chips. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, indeed. They have the peasant priest who comes from really, really humble beginnings. The pacifist priest who, doesn't fight and basically is,
he's the medic.
Yeah, the role-playing monkey wrench in an adventuring party because he's always telling them, you don't need to fight in order to do this. And the fighter's looking at him like he's completely lost his mind because, you're up against a whole bunch of orcs who only know one thing usually, and that's, violence.
I'm assuming that's going to be the least played kit in the whole book.
I'm trying to remember. I think there was one guy that I played with in all the gaming groups I've been in who actually played a pacifist. And, of course, you've got your bloodthirsty dwarven fighters and other things and that, and he was always trying to get them to stop doing it. But the only problem is he was about as effective as, trying to, knock out an ogre with a feather pillow.
Yeah. What about you, Corey? What kind of kits you like in here?
One of my favorite kits in here is the Amazon Priestess. Her additional things that she's given in here are really cool. Plus, I think it's cool that there's actually a female type kit that's based purely for a female character. The other one that I've played before that I like is the Outlaw Priest. What that does is, to me, having my own pantheon, or even in a game like Forgotten Realms, where you have a large pantheon, it allows your characters to use some of the more little-known, lesser demigods, or even the greater powers. You know, oh, well, everybody in this town prays to God X. Well, I'm going to pray to this demi-power Y over here. Well, you're kicked out. Well, that's fine. I'm going to go adventure while I'm doing it.
Yeah, they get prescribed.
Yeah.
So, the Scholar Priest is pretty cool. I've seen someone play one to a very high effectiveness in my party. Essentially, while the whole entire group was doing nothing but fighting, she was sitting there with an ink and quill and was taking notes on everything.
Oh, wow.
The fighting style of the orcs of the northern tribe. She was a scholar. She literally was a sage. She and they'd be like, can you heal me? And she'd be like, oh yeah, hold on, let me put my book down.
Nice.
Like it was hilarious, and she did it to the point where like they're walking and she would like bump into whoever's in front of her because her nose would be in her book as she was like studying her notes.
Oh, that's kind of the priestly version of the scholarly wizard.
And the worst of it all, she was the only priest in the party. So when they hit like a library in a dungeon or whatever in a tower, they'd be like, okay, this is a library, let's move on. She would stay put and read every title of every book. And they're like, let's go. You got to go with us. And she's like, well, I'm the only one who heals, so you're going to wait on me. She had the rest of the party, but she was role-playing her character perfectly. It was fantastic.
And she's that kind of a hard-nosed
to
do that. Yep. Well, and I also know something interesting in here is no spells.
No, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they... No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering if they ran out of space, because, the Wizard's Handbook, there are at least, at least 10 to 20 spells in it.
At least.
Yeah. You would think there would be a couple, some spells in here, but...
I could assume they ran out of space because this thing is packed.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it is packed with a bunch of good information.
Not only that, you know what? I'm trying to remember. It's a chicken or the egg kind of thing, but I think they may have taken the spells and put them in the Tome of Magic. Because there were like a ton of pre-spells in Tome of Magic. I'm trying to remember what year that came out. I think it was 1990. Let me look at my copy real quick while you guys talk.
Sure. I also noticed there's a section in here called Toning Down the Cleric.
How so? I'm just curious.
Well, it says it's a cleric class very powerful. He has access to 16 spheres of influence, more than any other priest class, good armor, and fair weapons. Been a sign of a cleric's advantages that he has preferred cleric class of many, many campaigns. And I think they're talking about the generic cleric here. Who gets like a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Regular clerics have a nice big, wide pool of spells they can cast from, but that'll lead into our next segment.
This is kind of the Myrmidon priest, okay?
Myrmidon.
And it says like priestly items. Many faiths have a The first thing is that many faiths have a canon or holy book. Oh man, I thought they carried around a canon. Yeah.
Wrong type of canon there.
Well, it depends on the priest.
Yeah,
you
will
be healed. Kaboom!
Yeah. A priest of Gond would do it, right, Corey?
Yeah, that is a priest of Gond. But I was gonna say that's a little bit excessive for a smiting. Yeah.
Well, you know what? The cannonball is a blunt weapon.
It is a blunt weapon. Oh man, I got an idea for my next character.
Oh boy.
They have a little mini cannon running around.
Oh, that's my fault. I apologize to anybody whose idea he subjects this to.
Hi, Corey.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, complete priest handbook. Why don't you tell us about your experiences with this at thacoshammer@gmail.com, 405-806-0555. Leave us a message, or you can go on our Thacos Hammer subforum at osrgaming.org and purpleworm.org.
Yes, sir.
So we're into people skills.
The face is familiar. It's mine.
And so it is.
Oh, yes, of course. It stands out a mile, doesn't it? He's so common.
A little lady comes in here and starts throwing her butt around. What is that supposed to do?
All right, forget I said anything.
Maybe I will.
Well, that's pretty good.
Don't tell me you weren't looking at it.
Well, that's not half bad.
She's giving it right back to you.
People skills.
People skills, specialty priests versus normal clerics. In this corner is ready to rumble. Normal clerics are pretty powerful, and they probably beat up a specialty priest in a fight.
What?
You're crazy.
Do they smoke? Do they sell good crack where you live?
Yeah, he must be only a couple of blocks from the hood.
Well, I'm just reading the Complete Priest Handbook, and they're saying they have a wider range of spells.
This is true.
Plus bludgeoning weapons. Some priests don't even have that.
This is true.
You're playing the pacifist priest, especially. And, they can pretty much cherry pick what they want to cast.
This is true, but then if you put him in a ring with, say, a priest of war, of the god of war, whose holy symbol is a bastard sword, and the prerequisite to being a specialty priest means you have to pick up and you have to be proficient in the bastard sword, which means now you have a bastard sword wielding priest who has spells from the war sphere. So, you're talking a healing contest? Yeah, the normal priest will win. You put him in a battleground together? Yeah.
Well, you got a cleric with a haste spell, I mean. That's what I'm saying about cherry picking the spells.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, the specialty priest does on occasion get a nice little spell-like or various kind of ability.
That's true. They get a little leg up once in a while.
Oh yeah.
So how have you used have you had a mix in your game, specialty priests and normal clerics?
Oh, let's see. Well, when I first got the priest handbook, I just said, you know what, screw it. All priests of all deities are specialty priests. Then I was like, you know what, that's just stupid.
Really?
Because the part of being a specialty priest is being more special as a being than your garden variety cleric.
Right.
So like a cleric, say, would need like a 9 wisdom just to qualify for the class. A specialty priest would probably need like, say, a 12 wisdom, and say in the case of God of War, maybe like a 12 or a 13 strength in order to do it.
In order to do like tactics and stuff like that.
Right.
Plan.
Well, it's just basically comes down to the specialty priests are, from a gaming standpoint, they're harder to qualify for. And I was just
maybe it's like the wizard, or rather fighter, which starts out pretty good compared to, maybe they start strong. That's what I'm saying. The clerics, I'm talking about generic cleric. Maybe they start strong, and the specialty priests start weak, kind of like fighter versus wizard. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'd say probably more like cleric versus wizard. It's sort of 6 in one, half a dozen the other. But another thing, and this is actually an important point, is that specialty priests, at least in the early to mid levels, advance faster than regular clerics. And actually, I take that back. In the early levels, the cleric advances quickly, but once they get to like 6th level, the experience point requirements go way up, and the specialty priest is more gradual. So like in the middle levels, they advance faster, but once they get to like, say, just off the top of my head, I'd say probably like 10th or 11th level, then all of a sudden their requirements shoot way up. So, I think that, there's, in my opinion, there's room for both in a campaign world. It's just that the most of the lay priests would be normal clerics, and more of the adventuring priests would be specialty priests. Of course, the drawback is being a specialty priest, you have to follow not as much the tenets of the religion more, but you would be sent on missions for the church more, or at least that's the way I see it.
You could be assigned to these adventurers.
Yes, you could. Go go with these adventurers. They're going to this area.
Convert what you can.
Oh yeah. Convert who you can and what you can, and while you're adventuring with these people, there's something we want you to do separate from them.
Now, what about Corey?
Like Brian, one of my favorite worlds to play in is Forgotten Realms. I know yours is Miss Stara is your favorite, but
I'll play in Forgotten Realms if you want me to. I have no qualms about it.
I was raised on having a big giant pantheon, god of potholes and a demigod.
Demigod of speed bumps.
Demigod of belly button lint, and
umbrellas and potatoes.
So when it comes to my world, when I created mine, I wanted that same flavor and that same feel where there was a ton of hands, deity hands in the mixing bowl, changing the way the world goes, and nudging this piece here, pulling this piece there. When I deal with my priests, I do have them pick a god and make sure that they have a deity that they're pulling their faith from.
Right.
The specialty priests I definitely allow because I've personally, like I've said in the previous shows, my world is created and a lot of my deities are actual retired or ascended heroes from my friends, their characters.
Yeah.
So essentially when it comes time for them to have a character that goes, hey, my character's going to follow my old god, my old character, they have to actually sit down and write me out their specialty priests. So essentially, I have all the specialty priests hammered out for most of my gods. So
I had to do that for that campaign. I played that cat, a good necromancer. The guy said, okay, you're following this guy. Give me the write-up on him.
Yeah.
And I had to do that.
And, a lot of the specialty priests, and then once the specialty priest has been established for that god, a couple months later, someone's like, hey, I'm going to make a character of this god. And then somebody across the table goes, yeah, that's my old character. And I'm like, sweet, I'm praying to your old character. And he's like, oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
And they're like, sure. And they're like, well, here's the specialty priest requisites and all the information. So it's pretty cool. I love having the specialty priests around. I make sure that, they're not. A lot of people were worried when second edition came out about the specialty priest because they thought they just superpowered them to the point of ruining regular priests. But if you make sure that, the requirements for the specialty priests and the disadvantages that go with the advantages, it's all about balance.
Yeah.
And I make sure that, okay, so you want to be able to, carry a broadsword around and, maybe cast spells from your forehead. I don't know. Well, you're going to have some requisites that Corey. I'm going to make sure that more than what?
No, I was going to say that's psionics,
I know, but
I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. I had.
Well, hey, why can't you have priests that are the god of psionics?
Actually, there is one.
Actually, if you think about that in a cold scientific way, there wouldn't be a priest of psionics because that's sort of science.
That's true. That is very true.
In a fantasy setting, who knows? There could be a god of psionics.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, there is. There's a dwarven goddess of psionics, actually.
Really?
Yes, really. Yeah, she also the god of Duergar. If I'm not. No.
Oh,
it's
right. Yeah.
No, actually, the god of Duergar is someone else. No, this one's a female god, and actually one of her spheres of influence is psionics, believe it or not.
Interesting. That's a dwarf
yes.
no less. Wow.
Lawful evil female dwarven goddess.
Wow. So before second edition came along and the idea of the specialty priest, to me it was just like I roll up a cleric, I pick a god I'm going to worship, and that's that.
Yeah.
And some people didn't even do that.
It's true.
It's like they didn't even have a god. They're just like, well, they're all the same. Just pray to one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I love the idea of the specialty priest that second edition brought along. But I kept thinking this is a lot of work. My idea of a specialty priest is okay. What kind of does he get? Edged weapons, and what kind of different weapons does he get?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that was like one of the first first differences between the two. Then, of course, like Corey was talking about, then they came out with, faiths and avatars and, all those, which kind of took that and went to another level with it. But
Frankly, the priest handbook is about as far as I want to go with that.
that's that's something I wanted to talk about, but I forgot, is that's where I originally started, and I'm like, you know what, this isn't enough. There has to be something. There's something missing, and I can't quite make out what it is. And then I read Faiths and Avatars, and I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. But yes.
Okay. Well, some people are more into priests than others. Other DMs. That's true. That's true. To be like I said, I didn't want to go through all the work. I mean, designing a pantheon itself is a lot of work.
Oh yes, yeah. It's a lot more work than going, this is Fred, the god of flowers, and this is Julie, the god of the oceans. It's a lot more work than that, Especially if well, how does this god like this god? Am I supposed to attack their priests on sight, or am I supposed to shake their hands and have fellowship or whatever?
That's the point where I go, okay, they all hate each other. You all fight.
Yep.
Well, that's something that I'm now just starting to. I'm just now starting to do with my Mystara Pantheon. I basically took a bunch of Mystaran immortals, figured out what their spheres of influence were, wrote them out Faiths and Avatar style, and now I'm actually doing the interactions between.
Is there not already a Mystara Pantheon?
Yeah, but it's all immortals, because Mystara only does clerics. They don't do specialty priests. And I just said, you know what, the immortals concept is interesting, but you know what, I'm just taking that out and I'm putting in what I want. And of course that makes Mystara slightly to radically different from the quote-unquote normal setting, depending on who you talk to.
Right.
But you know what? Everybody who's played in it enjoys it, so I'm just going to roll with it.
Okay. You folks out there, what do you think? Normal clerics, specialty priests, how do you handle it, if you handle it at all?
One,
THACO's
both.
Hammer, one or both. THACO'sHammer@gmail.com and the other usual places. Let's go in the book.
You ever go to school, stupid?
Yeah, and I come out the same way.
Is that your idea of an idea?
It's in the book.
It's in the book, okay? Here's the big question. Edged weapons for clerics or priests. Yay, no, maybe?
A resounding yay in my book. How about you, Corey?
Yeah, I'm going to have to say yay as well.
Okay, the consensus is yay. Next. No. That's a little too quick for a segment.
Yeah, that's a little too fast, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to say, depending on the priest and the deities, I mean, if you have specialty priests, especially priests who are praying to gods of war and gods who deal in combat, I mean, a lot of my deities and the way my specialty priests work is the holy symbol. And my actual priest for the god of war, their holy symbol is actually a one-handed bastard sword.
Oh, that'll work.
Using, a bastard sword.
If priests of Thor can have hammers,
yeah,
and priests of Odin can have spears,
yes,
right. I think there's no reason why you should handicap them without giving them the proper weapons when they can wear the same armor as a fighter, yet can't use the same weaponry.
Right.
Not every single church is teaching their clerics how to use a hammer and a mace.
Yeah, that's my whole thing. It's like, it's just makes it too boring, and I mean, because basically what ends up happening is that aside from the cleric's ability to turn undead, which we will talk about in an imminent segment, yes, they become basically the skeleton bashers, because they're like the only ones who took blunt weapons.
Right.
And I mean, with me, it's like, it's a fait accompli as far as I'm concerned. It's like, you know what? If a deity has a signature weapon, there is no reason at all, unless you're just going to be, well, that's the rules and that's how it's going to be, that kind of guy. There's no reason why every cleric from the lowest acolyte all the way up to the 20th level high priest should not be wielding the weapon of his deity.
That's right. See, the problem really doesn't come with the specialty priest. It's more like the generic cleric. And as far as I'm concerned, I know the generic cleric was supposed to be using weapons that don't draw blood. At the same time, I'm willing to fudge that depending on what the god they're worshiping.
Right.
I mean, I figure that's the only way to do it. I'm not going to say somebody who's the cleric of Odin. No, you can't have it. Well, are you a specialty priest? No. Well, you can't have it. I'm not going to say that to anybody. Yeah, go ahead. But I would restrict them to, if it was an edged weapon, I would restrict them to what their god okays. If they're a cleric of Odin and they've got a spear, I'm not going to let them pick up a battle axe.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, only ones who should be able to wield, just a group of weapons, like say all swords or all spears or all axes or whatever, those should be like almost direct combat oriented deities.
Yeah, and it should be few and far between too.
Well, they're not in my campaign, but that's just
no. What I'm saying, but what I'm saying is a god who has, say, a sword as a holy weapon, and everybody carries swords. But I mean, I'm talking about the gods who okay all swords.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
All axes.
Right.
Those should be few and far between.
Right. Yeah, there's only I'm trying to think in the pantheon I have, I think there are maybe just off the top of my head, I think there may be 3 or 4 deities that allow all, say all swords. But that's one is one of her one of her portfolios is sword play. So yeah, every sword from the short sword all the way up to the two-handed. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
But
don't let her catch you picking up any other edged weapon.
Well, no, no, it's only it would only be just swords.
Yeah. I'd like to find a god who okay, your weapon is the boomerang.
Yeah, the deity's name would be Crocodile Dundee or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Probably. Yeah, it might be some kind of Aborigine god. Who knows?
Yeah, that would make perfect sense.
Yeah, I like the idea of unusual weapons for priests.
Yeah.
I mean, is there one where they can only use a crossbow, or something like that?
I think there are a couple of dwarven deities, but nothing off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said in the previous segment, I have a deity that has, that she's a goddess of archery. So, all their priests are walking around with bows on their backs.
Right. That's kind of, I don't see very many gods where they say, most every god I've seen, whether it's a blunt weapon or not, it's a melee weapon. Because I can't see a goddess of archery saying you can only wield bows. Right. And they come in close, and what do? Duck behind the fighter?
Yeah, I think at that point you'd have to have the cleric rely on the other base cleric weapons, mace, hammer, a shield on their back, or whatever.
So basically, in that case, it would be bow plus non-edged.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All bows. Yeah, that's how I do it. It's
or a club or something.
Yeah,
it'd be all blunt weapons plus all bows, or like in the case of the aforementioned priest of Odin, they'd have to take the spear first.
Right.
That'd have to be one of their initial weapon proficiencies.
Even the specialty priest, like he was saying, of archery, if they use the longbow, somebody gets in close, if they had a fortified or hardwood bow, they could actually use their bow as a quarterstaff, and a quarterstaff is an allowed weapon by base cleric rules. So
that's right.
You'd still use the bow just in melee, and you'd have to repair it if it broke or whatever. But
I am against handicapping clerics to blunt weapons if they were worshiping a different god.
Right. Basically, if it's just your run-of-the-mill cleric, hey, I'm just playing a cleric. Who's your god? Oh,
yeah.
I don't.
And as far as I'm concerned, every game, if you have a clerik, they should be worshiping somebody.
Yep, I also agree to that.
There are no itinerant clerics.
Oh no, there never. Not my games. That's too much of a cop out. At least
I've seen players do. Oh, I'm a cleric. Okay, here's your spells. Go.
Yeah, well, cleric of what?
How do you get your spells?
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're a cleric of nature, Mother Nature, that's something. So yeah, it's all part of defining the cleric anyway.
Right.
So how about you folks? How do you deal with edged weapons, clerics, and specialty priests? Let us know at thacoshammer@gmail.com. And osrgaming.org, and the number, which I can't think of right now.
You can't think of the number?
Yeah,
Glenn,
because
405-806-0555.
Of course, I'm such an idiot. Thank you, Corey.
You got it there, boss.
All right, time for rule 0.
One would think you've been doing this all your life.
We'll remember you said that.
I know. I'm sure you hate me just enough.
Rule 0.
Rule 0, that's probably the cheesiest seg I've ever done.
Nah, I've heard cheesier. Just
not
not on.
me,
Just,
you haven't.
Not on. It's just not been on this show. That's all.
Yet.
Because we are all about quality here at THACO's Hammer.
That's right. We serve up quality BS. I mean,
Absolutely.
Quality gaming BS. No, gaming advice. Yeah.
There you go.
But actually, what we're going to talk about is the clerics turning undead and priests turning undead.
Yep.
And how it works in 2nd edition. How does it work in 2nd edition?
Well, it works pretty much like it always has.
Good, yeah.
What was that?
Pretty damn good, huh?
Well, yeah, depending on what your level is, right? But yeah, it works pretty much the same way it's worked since, I saw it when it was when I first opened my Moldvay books back in early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's a D20 roll, depending on your level and depending on the type of undead you're trying to turn. And if you roll the target number or higher, you succeed.
Yeah, so it's a high roll.
Yes, it's a high roll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to say because, there are, as you progress through your levels as a cleric, there are certain types of undead that need a natural 20 in order for you to, or just a 20, let's say, 20 in order to turn them.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. You do.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any kind of special peccadillos you do in your games as far as turning goes?
Well,
they have to have the holy symbol, or they have to keep doing it, or what?
Yeah, no. Well, in the case of actually turning them, yeah, they need their holy symbol, whatever it may be. It needs to be out and in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in the case of, this is where turning undead sort of it gets into gray areas for me, because I've had players who basically will turn undead and they are not happy unless the undead they're turning is like several hundred feet away from them.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of solve that with 2nd edition, but basically they'll just follow them. It's like the old Nosferatu movies where the priest has his cross out, and the vampire, and basically just drives him back and steps forward and things like that. But when the undead's pushed into a corner, basically the turning stops working and then they attack,
right?
Which is fine with me.
Right. Which is fine. I told this on the other podcast. One of my favorite anecdotes I ever read in The Dragon, I think it was Roger Moore in one of his editorials when he was running the magazine in Dragon. And he said when they first started, they didn't understand what turning was. So when the undead came at them, the priest would say, "I turned them," and he would succeed. And they keep coming at him, only they were spinning around.
Wow.
That's pretty funny.
I thought I gotta work that into a game sometime.
Wow.
One edition, that'd be hilarious.
Well,
special Googles.
Well, you know what? Use that for when the priest fails.
Yeah.
It's like I turn them, and it's like, yes, you do, but they're still heading towards you. They're just pirouetting as they're coming towards you.
It sounds like one of Julie's like Chinese vampire monsters or something that hop on one foot or something. They probably do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to make fun. Yeah, just to mock the cleric trying to turn.
Yeah. All right, everybody, roll save for being freaked out.
Yeah. One of the few times I might allow a Cthulhu like insanity roll.
They do exist.
Yes, they do.
How about you, Corey? How do you turn in your game?
I go by the book. This is one of the abilities, or one of the topics of second edition that I do not house rule or mess with. It's essentially the way it is. It counts as an action for me and requires one round and occurring during the character's turn in the initiative order. Essentially, you know, so your cleric decides he's not going to attack this round. That doesn't mean you get an initiative of 0. You still take your full round, and whatever initiative you rolled is, you know, the turn it comes.
Of course.
A lot of the turning that I do that I'm not sure. I can't remember. I think it is in the rules. If you back a undead creature up to the point where he cannot escape, you immediately break the turning. And I've seen a lot of people in my party use the turn undead for things other than turning. The one wizard in the party cast Rock to Mud in the corridor, and then the cleric said, "Oh, look, it's a whole bunch of whites." Or it wasn't whites. It was it whites? Yeah, I think it was whites. And said, "Yeah, come over. I turn you away." And everybody's like, "Dude, you're not high enough." Like, I know. So they come charging down the corridor, fall into the mud, and the cleric goes, "Yeah, reverse that spell." You know, my players are starting to get a little
psych.
You know, my players are getting a little sneaky with their turn undead. So it's something that I haven't messed with at all. What I have been doing is with my specialty priests, depending on if they're gods in the heal or necromancy sphere, they get bonuses or penalties to the turn undead. They might turn 2 levels higher, 2 levels lower. They might get an additional turn, you know, opportunity, whatever. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty much by the book for me.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. I just, you know, pull out the chart, follow it, and everybody seems to be happy about it. There isn't much. I mean, I know on like Dragon's Foot and other places there have been like that's one of the hot points. The hot points in D&D is cleric cleric turning, things like that, and everybody seems to have their own special little way they turn that their players turn undead. But to me, it's just like open the book. There's a chart. Go ahead and try.
You know, I've played second edition for a while, but I have a question here myself. Maybe either of you two know it.
I can try.
Shoot.
Is there an amount of times you may use turn undead for second edition?
Okay. You know what? I always wondered about that myself until I started playing the old gold box games. And basically, in a particular combat, you are only allowed one chance.
So essentially, you can do it 475,312 times a day as long as they're in different combats?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Different combats. Some people say it's got to be a different, you know, like if you have like 3 ghouls in front of you and you turn 2 of them when one doesn't turn, you cannot turn that 3rd ghoul if you try a second time.
That's correct. Yeah. If it's in the same combat,
yeah,
you know, with the same opponents, you can only do 1 turning attempt. And let's say you turn turn those 2 ghouls and you take care of the 3rd one, then later on those 2 ghouls come back, you can try and turn them again.
Yeah, it's different.
It's a separate combat.
Well, I take back everything I said from the beginning of this segment, and I do have a small I have house ruled simply because I've never been able to find any information about how often they're allowed to do it. Right. I allow them to do it the amount of times, which is their level times 2.
That's fair.
That's pretty good, actually.
Per day.
Yeah,
so double their level fair. Is how many times before their god goes, really? Again? Okay, knock it off. You know what? Get the hell out of there. You know?
Yeah.
You can only ask your god to channel his immense, you know, omnipresent power before he goes, okay, get the hell out of there. I'm not saving you again. Yeah. Get out.
Yeah, you're being annoying now.
Yeah.
You're beat. Go. Goodbye.
Yep.
Great. I know there's a lot of people who have their own little peccadillos on how they turn. Maybe they can tell us about it. If they drop us a line at osrgaming.org or thacoshammer@gmail.com or 405-806-0555 and leave us a voicemail. That would be very nice.
Yes, that would be quite accepted.
Where are we going next, Brian?
We are going to.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah, Magic Fingers.
No grunting from the audience. Magic Fingers.
Eeny, meeny, chili beanie, the spirits are about to speak.
Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead.
Sounds like a lot of supernatural baloney to me.
Supernatural, perhaps. Baloney, perhaps not.
Magic Fingers.
Magic Fingers. The Cures.
Yes.
Mr. Medic Cleric's cure spells.
Yes.
And are we just doing this? This is just the spells, right? We're not talking about like healing potions and stuff like that.
Just the spell. Oh, we'd be talking for the rest of the night if we went that far.
Yeah.
No, just the cure spells.
Yeah, so what do we got? Light, moderate, serious, critical, and the ever-popular heal spell.
Correct.
How is that different from the cure, like, say, cure critical?
Well, let's see. Just going in steps, Cure Light Wounds is, of course, a first-level spell. Everyone who's ever run a cleric knows that.
Right.
And it heals 1 to 8 points of damage.
Mm-hmm.
The big difference is that with... You only had that, and you had to get up to, I think, 9th level as a cleric before you get the next one, which was Cure Moderate, which is a 4th level spell.
You have to be like,
Moderate. I'm sorry, Cure Serious. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's no moderate until WotC takes over.
Yeah, it takes light, serious, and critical.
Yeah, that's how it was
9.
first.
Wow.
Yeah.
In basic, that means you'd have to be name level before you get any kind of moderate healing.
That's correct. I think they made Cure Serious. I think they made Cure Serious a 3rd level spell in basic, but I'm not certain. I mean, one of our people off our sister podcast, Save or Die, could probably do that. Oh, wait a minute, there's one right here, Glenn.
I don't know. But I seem to remember seeing all of these in there.
Right.
I mean,
they're all
light, moderate, serious, critical.
Mm-hmm.
I think second edition they just took one out.
No, actually,
moderate.
What happened was that it was first cure. It was light, serious, then critical, which is weird because Cure Serious is a 4th level spell. Cure Critical is 5th.
Wow.
So you basically had to go like, oh God, how many levels? Like 6 or no? I'm sorry, 8 levels before you got Cure Serious.
Yeah.
But with the advent of the player's option spells and magic, they made a Cure Moderate Wounds spell and made it 2nd level.
If you allow it.
Yeah, well, I allow it because it's common sense 101 at least.
It's one of the few spells. One of the few things that I did pull out of the player's options that I accept in the campaign. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, basically because Cure Moderate, because with the advent of spell spheres, if you have a specialty priest that has healing as a minor sphere of influence, you only get Cure Light up until this spell comes out, and it gives just a little bit more healing power. With Cure Moderate, it's basically the intermediate spell between Cure Light and Cure Serious, and you get the priest heals 1 to 10 plus 1 points of damage,
right?
Which is, perfectly acceptable in my book.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now what about the heal spell?
The heal spell. Oh yes, the wonderful, wonderful heal spell.
Now, is that in the main book, or was that in like a splat book, or the?
No, that was the main book. It was
page 228, 6th level priest spell.
Yes, indeed. And basically, I'm going off memory. Basically heals all hit points except 1 to 4. So this was like the best healing spell for your 12th level fighter with like say 140 hit points, and he's been out there fighting and he's down to like 10, so he's a mess. And instead of trying to cast multiple Cure Serious or even Cure Criticals, you just cast one heal spell and he's like, ooh, I feel great. Let me go back to fighting.
let me quick correct you here. It heals all points of damage suffered due to wounds or injuries.
Mm-hmm.
That's all, not minus 1d4. It does all.
All
It dispels the Feeble Mind spell, and it completely cures all diseases or blindness.
And I've seen a lot of things out there that, aside from that the heal spell will reverse.
Yes.
But the reverse harm infects the victim with a disease and causes loss of all but 1d4 hit points if a successful touch is inflicted. But the reverse, the heal, heals everything.
Yeah, even the cures have reverses like that.
Yes.
Only not as serious.
Right. Well,
yeah,
when you get up to cure or cause critical wounds, then you're like inflicting a pretty hefty amount of damage if the target misses its saving throw.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Have you ever had a villain use harm?
Yes. Yes.
Really?
That's when in my campaigns, if they're going up against like a really high level cleric, well, 13th level or higher, really.
11th.
Is it 11th? Really?
11th level.
For
11th level
levels?
can cast one 6th level spell.
Okay, I get mixed up with the priests. With the priest with the wizard's spell.
But you know
progression.
what? If I'm a 6th level priest, I don't think the first spell I'm taking is heal. So yeah, you'd be about level 13 before you actually pick it up.
Mm-hmm. And the harm spell that's one good way to make make the party fighter very, very nervous.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know what? On the player side, boy, that reverse sure helps when you're fighting that dragon.
You can get through that magic resist.
Yes,
and the saving throw.
I've seen it done.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it done. Taking down a dragon. Boom! Failed his magic resistance. Boom! Yep. Don't they get magic resistance and a saving throw for that?
Yes, that's correct.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's the drawback to using the cause spells is that it's not automatic. They get a save.
Yeah. Well, in this case, 2 saves if it's a dragon or something.
Well, yeah, magic resistance and a save.
That's true. That's true.
But as a fellow player of mine said, after he used a Staff of Withering on a bronze dragon, anyone can break MR, anyone can break a save, because that's what ended up happening. He basically crippled a bronze dragon. It was an evil campaign, but yeah, he crippled a bronze dragon, and everybody's like, "Don't do that. Do something else. Do something." He's like, "No, I'm gonna do this." And basically, the dragon bricked its magic resistance and bricked its save. Yeah. And he was the man for that night.
And it's one of those spells you really don't think about, at least in a reverse sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's times when I had heal, and I can hurt him.
A lot.
Oh boy, yeah, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just the simple fact of walking up to a wizard that's high level and just touching him, causing a disease and taking all his hit points except for 4. You've essentially knocked him down to first level, and he's diseased, which means his stats are lowered. The cleric can walk up and kick him in the scrot and take out the wizard. I mean, at that point, you don't even need a fighter.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
I was playing another game system entirely, Champions. I was playing a superhero wizard that had a spell called Drain Endurance.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody thought, that's the most useless spell we've ever seen. Because I could give endurance, but I could do the reverse too.
Right.
And I said, oh yeah? We were fighting these little tiny killer robots at one time. I went, Drain Endurance. All their batteries are dead now.
Nice.
And they all just fall out of the sky
just
and flop to the floor.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome.
Yeah, I touch him. No more endurance, no more batteries. Boom.
Yes,
like I said, that's the kind of thing. What?
Yes, I am a walking short circuit.
Yes. Here, let me touch your computer system. No. Yeah, I probably overload. But anyway, how do you educate, cures, heals, things like that?
Well, actually, in my campaign, that's one of the house rules. Going back to the first segment we were talking about, that's one of the house rules I have. I mean, you can, a cleric can do it one of 2 ways. Either he can just do it on the fly, where it's like, by the power of Odin, I heal you and just roll dice. Right. Or if they have the time, and that's the operative phrase, if they have the time, they can actually do a point-for-point heal up until the maximum healing allowed for the spell. Like,
wow.
If he wanted to use a Cure Light Wounds and he has the time, he could actually sit there and just put his hand on him and just close his eyes and mutter prayers, and 8 rounds later he'll have 8 hit points.
Get max.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. The problem is that doing it while you're in a dangerous situation, that's when wandering monsters will probably show up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I can attest to that, boy. How about you, Corey?
I run it somewhat similar for certain gods. The god of pain and tolerance in my campaigns, essentially the cleric will cast a heal spell and you'll roll a d8, or cure light wound spell, and you roll a d8, and say you only got 4. Yeah. Well, that cleric has the option of giving that person 4 of their hit points to max out that die roll to 8.
Oh,
now, not every god. Yeah, it's a transfer because you're taking your god's holy power through you to heal that person. So, if you want to, you can say, you can be all Liv Tyler and say, I hope some of my grace flows through me to you or whatever, a la Lord of the Rings. But
that's
nice. You can
nice.
essentially say, okay, well, I especially use this for people, Priest of Ilmater, when I was playing in Forgotten Realms campaigns. And
that'd be right.
Gods of suffering and things like that. They would say, okay, well, my priests are meant to suffer for the others. So, hey, I only rolled a 3 on my D8. Well, do you want to give up 5 of your hit points to the fighter? Yeah, let him have it. I'm going to the back of the party.
Nice.
Stuff like that.
It's like that old Star Trek episode, The Empath. That's what I envision, basically.
I'll give her the 5. I'm going to the back of the party and cracking the healing push.
The fighter's got this big bruise on his ribs from getting hit by that ogre with the club. All of a sudden, the bruise disappears from the fighter and transfers to the cleric. The cleric's like,
exactly.
Ouch.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that.
How about you folks? You got any special heals the way you do them? Cures and all that? THACO's Hammer at gmail.com and the other places. And now it's time for a snipe hunt.
If you only had a living brain.
What do you think? Escaped gorilla?
Listen, you're making enough noise to wake up the dead. I don't have to wake him up. He's up.
It's time for a snipe hunt.
Snipe hunt, another cheesy transition.
Snipe hunt.
Snipe hunt. The Ghoul and the Ghast and their little brother, the Lacedon.
Yes, indeed.
Ghouls. Now, ghouls have been around since time immemorial as far as D&D goes.
Yes,
and beyond.
And beyond, from the first little books all the way up to now. They're one of your basic undead, and they're pretty uncommon, but they can exist in any climate or terrain. And chaotic deal, of course. They're they go for hit dice 2. For Lacedons 2, but the Ghasts have 4 hit dice.
Yes.
And all Ghasts are ghouls with the killer BO.
Well, and they're more powerful, yes.
Yes. But, saving throw versus poison on BO? Hoo-hoo!
Yeah.
Oh. The way I see ghouls, especially in the 2nd edition description here, if anybody out there listening knows zombie movies, you have the old school 2 mile an hour Romero zombies. And then if you've seen the most recent Day of the Dead movie with Ving Rhames in it, you know that they have the running 30 mile an hour zombies. To me, the ghouls in here remind me of that different of a version of a zombie. To me, they're a faster, smarter, more cunning zombie.
I agree.
Because, it even says the change from human to ghoul has deranged and destroyed their minds. Ghouls have a terrible cunning which enables them to hunt their prey most effectively. So this is, to me, the next step. Once your character's past first level, you're done fighting zombies. Now you're getting into a little more harder monsters.
It's kind of like watching one of the old Universal mummy movies with Lon Chaney shambling around, wondering how the hell he kills anybody because he's so damn slow. To watching the Hammer films, The Mummy, with Christopher Lee just basically breaking in and sprinting over and start choking the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. I've never used, to tell you the truth, I never used ghouls, which is surprising because I have used some undead in my game. Not very many, mostly like zombies and stuff. But I've never used ghouls because, to me, I had a hard time what's the difference? How does a zombie and a ghoul differ?
Mm-hmm.
They're both. I mean, you just told me why, because they're more intelligent.
Yeah.
Yep. They will set traps. They will set traps. They will set blinds. They'll set,
ambushes.
They'll set ambushes. The other difference that they have from zombies, besides their faster movement and their more cunning, is the fact that they have a special ability.
Yes.
The paralyzation attack.
The touch.
The paralyzing touch.
Yep.
Which, by the way, does not affect elves, which I love.
Yeah. Or at least with regular ghouls, the gas, that affects elves.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Yeah. But their touch causes humans, including dwarves, gnomes, half-elves, and halflings, to become rigid unless the saving throw versus paralyzation is successful. And it lasts 3 to 8, which is 2 plus 1d6 rounds.
It's a lot.
Yeah, until negated by a priest.
Yep. Yes, a second level party, even a third level party, they have to really kind of watch themselves when they get jumped by a pack of ghouls, because a couple of brick saves, and then the next thing it's a la carte for the ghouls.
Yeah. I think one of the problems I had distinguishing the ghoul from the zombie, because I was at the time long ago I was also playing Call of Cthulhu, and I was influenced by their take on ghouls, which is basically somebody can turn into a ghoul. And not die.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I forget.
Sort of like the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Mr. Hyde would be a ghoul.
I guess he would, but I'm thinking more like they decide to be a ghoul, or they go through something that blows their mind, or something, or a god does it. I don't exactly know how it happens, but they end up as a ghoul.
Right.
They didn't die. They just maybe one of the eldritch horrors cursed them or something.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. So it's almost like or even maybe even a contagion thing, contagion.
Yeah,
something like that. Like vampirism or lycanthropy.
Yep.
So that's why I kept thinking, well, this is confusing me, because I was thinking of Call of Cthulhu when it came up with the ghoul here. Anyway, aside from that, what's a good way to use a ghoul that you've used in your games?
Well, those would be, it all depends. If you have if the party's up against like an evil cleric, say around 5th or 6th level, and of course he's got packs of undead, marauding the countryside, and his troops. I would use ghouls, and maybe even not so much a ghast, but I would think I would use a ghoul as his sort of like bodyguards.
Yeah, I was going to say, could they be like second in commands or something?
Ghasts would be.
I wouldn't go second in command with a ghoul, but a ghast.
Yeah, a ghast. Okay.
Because ghasts are very, very intelligent.
There's a difference between a level 2 monster and a level 4 monster. The ghasts are a little higher.
A ghast is like 11 to 12. For intelligence, so they wouldn't be the mastermind, but they can sure be like the dragon.
Right. Yeah. Be the second in command, and basically just directing the packs. Being in charge of the packs of ghouls and telling them to do this way, and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The vampire lord says, "Go take these guys out." Yes, sir. That kind of thing.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, and with the added benefit is you get to eat the spoils. So,
unless directed not to, because they need more troops.
That's true.
Because those who are killed by ghouls, unless their corpses are eaten, they turn into ghouls.
I know that, just like zombies. Wow.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I've used ghouls in a campaign, particularly after you get people acclimated to your DMing and you run through the first level adventures and you get them up in level. I ran a adventure with the parties entering a town and that were fearful of the woods, and of course they're getting attacked by ghouls, some creatures. The PCs investigate and find out that they hung a wizard for witchcraft, and essentially instead of burying him, they just threw him down a well. Well, he became a ghost. So the ghost started collecting ghouls. because no one could get down there to bury his body to kill the ghost. Essentially, they just kept collecting townsfolk. So they're a cool creature to use in packs if you have a little bit of oomph in your party.
Right.
The paralyzation, though, if there's no elf in the party, that paralyzation with a couple bad rolls can totally wreck even a high level party. I mean,
agree.
that paralyzation, because once people are paralyzed, the ghouls just eat.
Yeah.
And they can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. That would be that's the difference between the ghouls and the ghasts. The ghast would paralyze one person, leave him there, and be like, "All right, I'm taking care of your friends now." The ghouls, they would paralyze somebody and then
stop to eat.
They probably a couple of them would stop and start gnawing on the body, and then it's just a matter of time before that character dies unless his friends come and rescue him. Mm-hmm.
At this point, I think we should at least mention the Lacedon.
Yes.
Which is a marine ghoul, which you mostly find around like ghost ships and wrecks.
Mm-hmm.
One of my more favorite creatures to use, especially around the oceans.
Lacedons?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Certain town hires a bunch of ships to go out and kill the pirates that are killing their cargo. Well, they sink the cargo ship. They sink the pirate ship. For some reason, at night, all of these creatures are coming out of the water. They're all the pirates that they've killed.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, yeah, that'd be
That's essentially what they are. I mean, they're the undead of
and they don't need to breathe. So,
yep.
Boys, go take a walk. Okay,
exactly. Yep.
So like that, I can see that using several. Now, what would be interesting is like. Say they start running, they run out of, there's some Lacedons down in a wreck down below in the bottom of the ocean. They start running out of bodies to salvage from the wreck. So they start attacking people, things like mermen and Kuatoa.
Aquatic elves.
Aquatic elves. And what are those, the deep one lookalikes? Those guys, the fish.
Oh, the Iliathids?
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the Kuatoa?
Kuatoa.
Oh, cool.
And they start attacking those guys, and all of a sudden the sea elves are looking for somebody. Hey, and then couldn't they turn into
undead
ghouls?
No, no, because elves.
The
elf thing. Yeah,
the elf thing. And there's no sea dwarfs.
I could see a community, fighting, sea elven community trying to fight to, save themselves from, all these, undead ghouls going
Kill
around.
them and eat them.
Yeah. Basically, elves get eaten, but they need outside help, and next thing I
get this wonderful idea for like the legend of this giant whale. Sort of like Moby Dick or I don't know, Squirty Jake or something like that. And the adventurers decide to go out on a boat to try and catch it, sort of like Jaws and stuff, with this saying, you're gonna get killed, all that kind of. And all of a sudden, Squirty Jake comes bobbing to the top, half eaten.
Oh, that's evil. That's just not right.
Lacedon party got a hold of the freaking giant whale.
They ran out of sea elves and everything else down there. They attacked the whale. Wow. So I guess they get the reward.
Or better yet, he bobs to the surface and he's got tons of Lacedons on his back.
Ooh, that's even better.
And they're coming for your boat. What do you do? Yep. This is just like Speed. What do you do?
Oh, God. It's like, and I'm the one who says I don't like sea adventures.
You're not alone in that. I'm not too fond of them either, because my whole thing is that the party needs to be high enough in level to be able to survive down there. And, just to be able to breathe, never mind the difficulty of, fighting down there. So yeah, it would have to be like at the behest of a community of some mermen or something like that, and just to give them like little tokens.
Frankly, I just don't want to deal with all that. Yeah, all the breathing underwater and crap. But at the same time, something can be said for a sea adventure on the ocean, on top of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, fighting the Lacedons or a giant squid or something like that.
Yeah, going to the Isle of Dread, you just don't journey down there. Stuff happens in between.
Or
One
even
does
better,
not just walk into the Isle of Dread.
even better, you could also do like a whole jungle island that's been colonized by the town's king, and he's gone, yeah, I want an outpost over there on that island. Well, I even heard back from the Duke that I sent over there to rule it.
Oh.
Hey, why don't you heroes
There
go
you
find
go.
out? Here they've been attacked by Lacedons.
And now they're ghouls or
Yep.
ghasts or something.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Isle of Dead. Island of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Isle of Dread's Deads. Oh, man.
It's a matter of...
So that doesn't... Yeah, what?
No, I just need to write myself a note because I got a campaign idea.
I feel like I'm going to be inflicted. This is
No, it's based... No, we'll explain it after we're done.
Okay. How about you guys got any use for ghouls and gas? We gave you some right there. Maybe you can give us some back on the forums at
osrgaming.org or purpleworm.org.
Yes, or THACOshammer@gmail.com. Well, looks like we came to the end of another one.
Another great one. All done at once.
Yes, all done at once. Yeah, sure. And you know we're going to be back again, right, guys?
We're going nowhere.
Come hell or high water on that.
Unless I run out of rum.
All right, for GM Corey, say goodbye.
Good night, everyone.
And how about you, Brian?
Nighty-night.
Nighty-night. And for me, DM Glenn, I'll see you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer. Bye-bye. Careful of the Lacedons.
Make your saves.
That's the other show.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
THACO's Hammer theme is provided by the Diablo Swing Orchestra. You'll find them on Jamendo.com. All other additional music for this episode was provided by Kevin MacLeod. You'll find more of his music on Incompetech.com. Be sure to visit our website at thacoshammer.info. If you have any questions or comments, email us at thacoshammer@gmail.com. Remember, that's an O, not a 0. You can also find us on the 2nd edition forums at osrgaming.org and at purpleworm.org. Or give us a call and leave us a voicemail at 405-806-0555. See you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer.